Ooh, and welcome back. I have been very sick lately in the last day, and I am in Pattaya, Thailand, right now. And yeah, it was quite a day. It usually don't last very long for me. I'm sick, but I'm not sick that long, and that's basically what happened again. That's 24 hours. That's my typical sick time, 24 hour. But what a 24 hours it was. Anyway, I have some questions and comments that people start to react on our video. So that's a good news, and we're gonna answer them. And then I saw that people actually react and comment on Ali's video, and they talk about me a lot. I was like, damn, I'll answer those too. So let's get to it. So, Night Swan, who wanted to transfer money to Mexico, to point out that using some kind of cryptocurrency like XRP would be very fast. And then I pointed him that, yeah, but then it's in a trading account of sorts, and then you have to convert it to money, which that is very long usually. And he says that would depend on your exit ramp and or ramps, i.e. exchanges. Yeah, it would depend on them. But it's actually usually 2 or 3 days, right? So by using a wise transfer, it's 2 or 3 days, and you are money to money. Seems to be like a better deal. I would not use cryptocurrency, but thank you. So a lot of people react on my comments about borders. So I even made a 30-minute long why I think borders are stupid, and not many comments. So I guess I'll be talking about borders for a while. So somebody just thought that like borders were preventing chaos. So I asked him, like, so your theory is that what prevents chaos is the invisible line that we call a border? And he says, my theory is common sense. If you don't have a fence around your land, anyone can come or take whatever they want. There are definitely terrorists entering the US through the southern border, not to mention drug trafficking and human trafficking. This is not a good thing, so we should have a real wall with technology built in so nobody can cross illegally ever. If you want to migrate, do it legally or don't come at all. Well, that's a good example of why a border doesn't really work, is the border of the southern United States. You just said that people are like, there's drug trafficking and human trafficking, but there is a wall there. I've seen it. I've been to Tijuana. There's a wall. There is a wall. And when you ask people around there, like, if you build, what they say, like, if you build a 30-foot wall, people will just come with a 31-foot ladder. It's just like, they say a wall doesn't really prevent people from crossing a border. So, I mean, I can see your point that you're like, these are not good things. And I agree with you that human trafficking is not a good thing. So we don't need to argue on that point. What I say is that borders and walls are not the way to prevent those things from happening. If anything, they make them more present in our life because the border creates a restriction, and then only like the top cartels can move through the restriction, and then you have to pay them. Anyway, let's agree to disagree. Anthony Johnson 100. So on the topic of bald and bankrupt, which I mentioned on a video, Somebody says he's a terrible person. So I asked, why is he a terrible person? And QOP replied, Mr. Bald or Voktuta on Rouge V forum was quite outspoken on the forum about his sex travels, and the things he has said are pretty insane. There's a lot of info to find online, but the degree to which information is just speculation or not fully proven, you should really determine yourselves. It sucks because his videos are great. So I would have to search. I'm not sure I will. But if he was quite outspoken about his sex travels, what does quite outspoken mean? Did he pay for sex? In which case, I paid for sex. Am I a terrible person? So, Enzami says, what did I just watch? Two creepy sex tourists talking about bar girls. Cringe. Yes, that's exactly what you just watched, Enzami. So on the video on how to spot a ladyboy in Thailand, Hexzilla415 said 5% of ladyboys are unlookable, I guess. Ladyboys are a lot of fun to hang out with, actually. Asking is always the best way to find out. I actually ended up marrying a Thai ladyboy. Best decision I ever made. Well, congratulations to the both of you, and I wish you a lot of happiness in your new marriage. And I would agree that they are a lot of fun to hang out with. Every time we hang out with ladyboys, they're quite fun, and not surprised they're good wifey material. So congratulations to the both of you. 1,000 Canadian for a sex worker is crazy. Just go to the brothel. Actually, it was 1,000 baht. Okay, it was not 1,000 Canadian. Thank you for spotting the mistakes. It was 1,000 baht, which is about 40 Canadian dollars. All right. On our Thailand vlog about our life in Khao Lak, Francis said, continue to enjoy and discover Khao Lak and around. Go to eat at Klong Ku, Phu View, and Adaman Viewpoint, etc. So thank you for the recommendation, and next time we are in Khao Lak, we're gonna go to see them, and I'll report back. And actually, we miss Khao Lak already. On a video that I explained why I don't hike in Thailand, I cannot walk outside. Roger said, I can't either. And then he said 555. And to explain to people what 555 means, or a bunch of fives, in Thailand, the number 5 is ha. So when you put 555, that's their lol. Okay, so that's how they lol. So you put 555 is ha ha ha. Wow, borders. More talk about borders. So I have Minchi Wei Guk, who says, as a Canadian, I find the words free trade between Canada and the US laughable. I lived in Norway for 2 years and traveled across a lot of Europe extensively. For the most part, there were no border checks. Goods and people traveled freely between most points. It was beautiful. That said, when I was a child, the relationship between the US and Canada was more relaxed, and that was before FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, went into effect in 1989. I didn't need a passport. I only showed my driver's license. If you regularly pass through the borders and the guard were familiar with you, they would just wave you through. If you had a bag of groceries, they didn't confiscate it and fine you. Nowadays, it's much less free. So actually, I remember those days when you didn't need anything to travel to the US. Like I would drive there with my mom, and she would show her driver's license. And I was young, and I was like, "Oh, a bunch of kids, like whatever." She didn't speak English, so she was always like, they're gonna ask me questions in English." That was what she was stressed about, talking in English. And then I also remembered that in 2001, because it was still relaxed. We all the way to that point, but in something like October 2001, we uh, we went to play golf in Vermont, and it was planned for weeks. But I was 21, and we didn't have much as like IDs or anything, and it was like, ooh, now we have to travel the borders, and it's gonna be more tight, like the border control, because like 9/11 just happened the month before, and well, actually, like I mean, they made us open the trunk, see a bunch of golf balls, like two grown ass teenagers with like a dad. It was like, yeah, whatever. But I remember that after that, it kind of like was more. It did ruin the border crossing between Canada and the US at some point. Like it was better when we were younger, and well, nowadays it's actually like not that fun to cross the border. I would agree with that comment, Minchiwiguk. So again, borders. Huh? The people are going nuts with the border thing. So Aki Wetzel says he's very confused. There are borders, but most of the time, no border controls. Every country has its borders because it's per definition a must. Well, then, if countries needs border, I will ask you this: why do we need countries? Okay, so Jim Bob 652 on the topic of borders, what a surprise, said, look at all the countries that have their borders locked down. Australia, Poland, Hungary, UAE, Singapore. Compared to all the other countries, all of their crime rate is down. I mean, Sweden had to bring the army in due to their open border policies. And also USA and New York, it's not only putting the general public at risk, but women are more at risk in Western countries than ever. So I can't really comment on Australia, Poland, Hungary, and UAE, but I can comment on Singapore. Okay, so Singapore, they're very welcoming. Okay, if you're on the list of their approved thing, which like most countries are for 30 days, okay, it's Singapore, and they supposedly they if you're on the list, the border guard, the person at the border is like, well, you're on the list. 30 days, welcome to Singapore. They don't say like, oh, you're from Africa, like we're gonna ask you 10 more questions. Like, no, you're on the list. On the list means on the list. And then, so Singapore are very welcoming with their border control. So I wouldn't say that the crime rate is really tied to the openness or non-openness of their borders. I will give you another example. Thailand. It's number one. Like Bangkok is the most visited city in the world. Crime rate here is non-existing. Like it's two things that are not correlated, if you ask me. All right, so let's go to the comments on Ali's page. So that's gotta be it. That's gotta be something. So Campati says husband is very lucky guy. I am a lucky guy. I mean, if I was like a superhero in a Marvel thingy, let's say, my superhero name would be Lucky Man. Somebody says, "What is Gab?" Gab is a little monkey, or a big monkey, I should say. So user something says, "Wow, you are great, and Gab is so lucky to have you. You must be a Canadian girl, and Gab is a Habs fan. I hope, but great video." So you're right on point because first, she is a Canadian girl. I am a Habs fan, and we are lucky, and I am lucky. Thank you for your great comment. So Luke says, it was nice to see you both discussing cultural differences in dating. I'm curious, if you are conscientious of how things translate to one another for fear of insulting or hurting feelings, do you find yourselves carefully choosing your words to avoid misunderstandings? Yeah, like the words we choose, actually, it's a little bit. We do have to choose our word carefully, but more than that, we have to choose carefully our words in the language that we chooses to. Because when Ali and we speak, it's a bit of a mess between French and English. And it's, I would say, 75% English, 25% French. And then sometimes the translation doesn't compute, so we have to communicate a little bit more to make sure that we do understand each other, which is not always the case because we were born from two different cultures and two different languages. So Jacob Lewis on a happy ending video, I presume, said, in the meantime, Gab was next door getting yanked. I was. I was. He was very happy. Of course he was. He enjoyed the extra service. And I did. And I was happy. A lot of happy ending stuff. So dude got the full package. I did. I did. So, Booble Lee Thompson said, I bet Gab enjoyed this happy ending. Was really hoping that she would mention what happened with him. Well, subscribe to Ali's Patreon for the full versions of things. But that was it for today's Q&A session, guys. It was a lot of fun. And, well, join me in another day on another Q&A thing. Ciao.